What's up and welcome back, and it's day 2 of the automatic to manual trans swap. Where we left off, I had the transmission getting ready to be put together. The throwout bearing was going in, and the pivot ball and the shift fork and all that stuff. And that's pretty much where I left off before I had to put the transmission back in. And because I'm kind of on a time crunch, you can see I have it up there. And I'm gonna explain to you exactly what happened, how it went in, and all of this stuff. Unfortunately, I didn't get it on video. Like I said, I am kind of put on a time crunch. But when you look up at it, everything is factory. So I put the transmission in. There's still some things I'm needing to do, like the slave cylinder and that. But as far as it goes, the only thing you really missed with me doing is putting the transmission up. I had to get the Z1 mount, you can see is on there. It just bolts to the bottom of the transmission. And then there's the cross member. The only thing that I did have to do that I have to show you guys is you can see where it's cut out a little bit for the shifter housing. It actually comes back. This length is like 3 inches back, and then across, and then 3 inches. And I notched that out because the shifter housing for the automatic is much smaller than the one for the automatic trans. I mean, for the manual trans. So, yeah, that was the only modification so far that I found out that I needed to do. And then everything else went back together factory. This is a factory drive shaft from a 350Z. So I have the drive shaft in. The 12 that holds the shifter housing is in. And then everything else, it's just all bolted up. Everything's bolted back up factory like it should. The bell housing bolts are back in. The 14's back in. The little window is back on. So everything underneath is pretty much done. This video, and what I've decided to do with both of these videos, because people are gonna reference it, and if you wanna reference the mechanical part, as far as doing the transmission and that type of stuff, I wanted to make that video so people can find it easier. They don't have to scroll through a whole video figuring out where's the pedal, how did he do this, how did he put that in. It's much better categorized. So the first video is the transmission, pulling the old one out, what needs to be done, what parts need to be put in place to put the new one in. And then this video is gonna be all the stuff on the interior, including the stuff for the lines. You can see I have this one here. This is just kind of sitting here. I was kind of messing with it a little bit to see how the line was ran. But I still have to do the slave cylinder. I still have to do the braided line and that type of stuff. And then we will move inside and we will do the stuff for the brake pedal, for the clutch pedal, and then we're gonna bleed it and we're gonna see how this thing drives. So, oh, and we gotta do the ECU, but that's really just unplug, plug back in. So let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna come over here. I'm gonna grab the last couple pieces over here necessary for this whole swap, because now I don't have an entire table that is needed to be done. So we have 1 pedal, 2 pedal, and then we have the master cylinder, here's the slave cylinder, here's the line, and then there's this line. This is the one I was showing you guys that comes off of here, and then we'll go through the body. So I'm gonna lower this down and I'm gonna start kind of marking out where things go and kind of get a game plan together. Okay, since I was messing with this, I want to kind of show you guys, this is one of the lines. This is the lower part of the line that actually comes over to here. And this is where this thread right here will be where the braided line screws into and then goes over here to the slave cylinder. But I kind of like contorted this a little bit. I got messed up from like the dismantler, but it comes around here. And then there's this little tab that it bolts to the firewall like that. And then this kind of comes up and does its little mess. I think I might use like 2 self tappers to just tap in right here. I think there's these 2 little divots right here for this, but I was looking on my car and mine doesn't have this big like swirl long line. It's just a little block, 1 line that comes across this way. So I don't know what car this came out of, but it's gonna work, it'll be just fine. But I'm gonna leave it loose for now until I get the other line, which is this line right here. I'm gonna put this one up in first from the top and kind of see where they meet. So that way I know where I can screw it to the firewall and have it secure with that bracket. Okay, now I know I'm kind of getting a little bit jumbled, but for the lack of saving a little bit of time, I should put this braided line on. to the slave cylinder. The slave cylinder will bolt up like this to the transmission, and this will be right here. This will be facing outward, and then you'll have the line coming off. So what I like to do, you can see kind of the natural curve of the line. I'll take it and I will put it like this on there, where this front part that you can see is kind of flat is pointing towards this little divot right here. On a factory line, there's like a little nipple that comes off that helps point it right here and keeps it from turning. On aftermarket lines, they're not on there. So you'll put one of these copper washers on and then put it through like so. And then the copper washer will also go underneath here, and then you'll screw it into there. So I'm gonna do that, and then we'll walk this over and I'll bolt it to the transmission, and then this will go where the hard metal lines were at. Okay, so now you can see that the slave cylinder is on with the line pointed where I said it should be. It kind of can follow the natural curvature and then go right to that hard line. So I'm not gonna screw it all together yet because I still have a little bit of situating to do, and I wanna do that hard line that goes from the master cylinder down through that firewall and meets to this block. But it's almost there. We have the bolts in. All right, there is a cap. When you look in here, there's that black cap right there. If you take that out, this line will be the one that feeds through there. So it actually goes like this with the curve going back. And this will actually feed, you can see this donut right here, will actually go on here, and this will come down. So I'm gonna have to kind of feed this through, and that will go when the master cylinder bolts down there, that's where it will come up to. So I'm gonna take that cap out and kind of get this situated to figure this out. Okay, so you can see I have the line in here now, and it runs over to here, and this will kind of sit in there. Let me see if I can get like that. There you go, like that, when the master cylinder is in there, and then it comes under here, and you can see that this line kind of meets right over to where that block is at right here. So I'll go ahead and put these two together, and then I'll suck this to the firewall, and then that will pretty much be ran. And then anything I need to do up here that will cause any bending or anything to fit into the master cylinder, I think will be pretty easy. All right, and the metal line is ran. It's up. It looks like it's in the factory spot. So I put just some self-tappers there. Try not to get the camera's like shadow in there. And then this line runs up and through there, and then it goes up in there, and we'll be able to put the master cylinder in. So we're moving right along. Okay, now final assembly. You can see this line now goes from the slave cylinder across to this metal line screwed together, and then comes down and around up to here, goes into the block goes up, and the last piece that it will go into is that right there. And so this will then be on the firewall, and then the pedal will go through, and everything will be hooked up and ready to go. So I'm gonna bring the car down, and we are going to install the brake pedal. We're gonna do the clutch pedal. Yeah. Okay, one thing we're gonna do real quick, I'm gonna grab my 10 on my mountain wrench and this, and we are going to replace the ECU real quickly. It's not a hard process. Turn this light on. You can see the ECU's right up under here, the black connector, and then it has two 10s up in here, the two nuts, and then it has one way up in there. I don't know if you can see it. I'm kind of just showing the camera blind, so there's a 10 and then two 10s on this side. And let me figure out how I can do this. To get this black connector off, if you come on this side, you can kind of squeeze, and then you pull down, so it looks like that. Here we go. Sorry for the shaky camera. So then you pull down like this, and then the whole thing comes undone. And the way it goes back in is you just put it up like this, and then you pull it, and it will lock it in place. So I'm gonna replace the ECU real quick, and then at least we'll have the one in here that we know will start the car. And so then it's just the pedals, and we will be done. Okay, I now want to show you, as we go back in, you can see everything here is all back factory. The nuts are in that side, that side. Looks like I never touched it. I love it when stuff goes back together like nothing happened. Factory clean. Okay, and last but not least, we have the pedal stuff to do. A little bit before we start, I want to show you this cutout that's right here in the firewall pad. That is my only indication of where the clutch pedal goes. There should be a bracket up here where this like pad is at that has a bolt that goes through it. It should be threaded. On the manual cars, there is. If you look on the brake, I don't know if you can see up there, but there's one that's going upwards that's bolted to the subframe of the car, or to the frame of the car rather, and so that should be the same for the clutch pedal, but there's not. So unfortunately, I am gonna have to try and figure out like how to put the bracket in there spaced out with the brake pedal. So I think first things first, I'm gonna take off the two connectors right here, and I'm gonna start taking off the brake pedal and put the new brake pedal in first, and then I'll kind of line up where the clutch pedal should go, you know, with the new brake pedal installed. So I'm gonna take this off. I'm gonna take these two connectors off. I'm gonna take up here these 12s off, and then this pedal should fall out of here. Okay, last thing I just realized that I didn't show you. There is a pin right up in here. You can see that pin that's holding the brake booster on. And on this side, there's a C-clip. If you pull that C-clip up and out, then you can pull the pin out this way, and then the pedal will be released from the booster. So I have to get that out too. All right, we are one down. We're getting close. The brake pedal is now on. You can see everything's all connected. We have all the bolts, all the nuts tight. So everything's together. So now it's just time for this. So it's gonna have to go right up in there. I know the camera is blocking. There you go. Right in there. And I'm gonna make the holes for it, and we're gonna figure this out. All right, so I have the stuff marked now. You can see the holes. I put the pedal up. It's kind of hard for me to hold everything and show, but you'll see the final product when I'm done. But I held the pedal up, and so that way it's pretty level with the brake pedal, maybe a little bit higher, but pretty even all the way across. Looks aesthetically pleasing and seems comfortable for like foot placement. So I made these. I'm gonna use a center punch to center punch the holes. I'm trying not to make them too big. The like screws that are on the other side that come from the master cylinder are about that big, so I'm gonna drill through, and then I gotta figure out, I don't have a drill bit that's big enough for the center, so I'm gonna use a hole punch and see how much bigger I have to do it. I might have to go to the store and get another one, but we'll see. Okay, so I got the holes drilled. There's the two holes for the master cylinder. However, I am gonna have to call it a night tonight, unfortunately, because I don't have a drill bit big enough, and I can't source one around here right now. I think I'm gonna use like a hole saw or something of the same size, because trying to get it directly in the center and then having to work my way out, it just won't put it in the center spot. So I need to find a hole saw or something of that matter. So I'm gonna search for that, and I will get back to this tomorrow. Okay, so I have a confession. I'm a big fat liar. You liar! I actually made a template, and the way I made a template is I measured the, I can't even think right now because I've been like wrestling this damn thing. The master cylinder, I just measured from here to here on the master cylinder, and I made a template, and then I scooted this over a piece of paper and made the holes, and then I transferred this to the car, and I would love to show you that this car now has 3 pedals. So everything is bolted up in there like factory. All I have to do now is bleed it, and you can see looking at it, it looks pretty normal. Coming out over here, you can see also that it looks like it's in the factory position, with no template as to where this is supposed to go. It looks pretty dead on even with my car. And when you take out these 2 plug holes right here that you can see, this fits right in, and it looks like this car has come with it always. So I need to bolt that down. I need to put this line in here so I can add some fluid and start bleeding. Okay, and we are done. This is on tight. All of this is ran. That line down there is ran. So it's time to put fluid in it. Okay, so I've really gotten to a stopping point. I have the fluid in. I'm trying to bleed it myself with this, but it's not wanting to bleed. I need somebody to get in there and do the pump, hold. So unfortunately, this will be the end of the video. Well, not the end of the video, this will be the end of the night. I will have it because the end of the video is gonna be me driving it for sure. Actually, it should be Gustavo driving it. Yeah, I think that we're gonna call it a night, and maybe tomorrow or the next day, we'll get somebody in here with me. Maybe when Mike shows up, I'll have him pump, hold, and we'll get the rest of this going. So I'm kind of tired, sorry, like my demeanor's a little bit down, but yeah. I'll get right back to it as soon as I have somebody else here to help me. All right, what's up? We're back. It's another new day. I took a couple days off. It felt good to kind of just relax, get my mind together, and now we're back. And we're gonna do the last part of this, and the last part of it is actually in here. Some of you know that the transmission has a safety for when you put it in park or if it's in neutral to allow the car to start. And on a clutch setup, there's a clutch safety switch that you have to press in order to be able to start the clutch or start the car. So in order for us to make that work, so I guess during my 2 days off, I didn't charge the battery on the GoPro, so sorry about that little mishap. However, what I was going to say is to make the car start, I tried to start it right now, and it will not start. So in order to do that, we have to go inside here, and we have to take a peek under here to the IPDM, which is the Integrated Power Distribution Module. And there is a terminal on there, terminal 53. And when you're looking at the IPDM on the bottom right-hand corner, it's on the bottom right plug that plugs into it. And I'll explain a lot more with that, but we need to jump a 12-volt switched power to that terminal. So that way the car thinks that it's in park. It'll always be like that. It's not a big deal. It'll just constantly giving it power when the key is switched on. And so when it's switched on, then it'll allow the car to start. It'll read through the ECU, ready to go. So we're gonna take this off and we're gonna get started. Okay, so I did a little digging ahead, kind of setting this up so it's a little bit easier for you to follow and see. So you can see I removed the covers. It was just the clips that go around here. You pull that off, and then this, after you take this away, you can just kind of slide this off and it'll access this. There is a cover on this that covers over this IPDM. This is the IPDM. You just pull it up and out and it's not that bad. So one of the things we're doing is all the way down at the bottom is the connector that I'm talking about. And up here is actually this 40 amp fuse that sits right in here. I pulled it out because I wanted to show you that there's two terminals here and here. You're gonna be putting it on the lower terminal, not the upper terminal. The upper terminal is always hot as long as there's a battery connected to it. So you want it to be switched power. So when the switch goes on, it will be on the lower terminal. So when you put the wire there, the jumper, then you'll put it on there. This is kind of an easy, maybe a cheaper way to do it. You can spend time finding other switched wires and kind of running and routing, but because there's a cover over this, it'll also make it easily accessible in case there's an issue later on down the line. So you'll actually put the wire over this and then you'll actually kind of crush it here, and then I'll probably put a connector that goes down to this lower connector down here after I splice the wire on the gray and red wire, which is terminal 53, and I'll explain that in just a minute. But I'll have something right here that can connect together, so that way in case there's an issue or something that we need to remove, change, it'll make it that much easier. So I'm gonna pull the battery out. On the IPDM, there's two tabs on the back right here, really hard to see, but if you pull them towards you this way, this whole thing slides out and it'll make it a little bit easier. So I'm gonna do that now and show you as close as I can what's going on. Okay, now I have everything removed. The battery's out. I pulled the IPDM out. You can see that there's two tabs here. This is where the back of this locks in. So if you pull these towards you on both sides, this will slide up and out. So I'll give you a little bit more room. And then on here, This is the one that I'm talking about. You know what? Let me get a light real quick so you can see. It's not that easy to see on a camera. But right here on the right-hand side, there's that connector right there. In the top left-hand side of it, you can see the top left wire is gray and it has a red stripe. Let me see if I can get the camera in there so you can see it. That's the one we are going to cut, splice into, and run the wire up to here on that pin that I was just talking about with the switched ignition. So I'm gonna do that and I'll show you after it's done, but for me showing you kind of how to take it apart and stuff, my hands are gonna be down in there and this is a very tight space as you can see. So I'll try and do my best that I can to explain, but that's what I'm gonna do now. Okay, so now before I get a little too far ahead, I can show you that I have the wire is now sticking out of here. This just goes in the box, you can see. You know, I don't like things looking ugly, so I always try to hide as much as I can, but it's coming off of that terminal, kind of coming out here, and then I made it where you can kind of just put this cover on. There's a little notch back there, and this sticks out here. The other side, you can see down at the bottom which one is missing. And so I unplugged it, and there is the gray with the red that I spliced into, and then I made this connector that will just go onto here, and then I'll be able to kind of hide the wires after I put everything back together and that. So, sorry, I know it's kind of tight in there. I'm trying to do the best that I can to show you and the explanation on where. But yeah, there's the gray, see with the red stripe. It's this bottom right one that's undone, and then I have the quick disconnect in case I need to do anything later on. So now, as you can see, we have our little jumper wire here. We have the battery back in. I have pretty much, here's the little cover I was talking about, and I kind of like cleaned up this wiring, so it's really hard to see. With the cover on it and that stuff, you won't even see that there's been anything done. And let me get the keys. If you've done everything right, you should make sure it's a neutral. Here we go. Aha! Let me put a jumper on it. Okay, now I got the jumper on it. Since it's been really cold outside, the cold loves to kill batteries. So let that be on there for a second. And now let's give this shot number 2. All right, attempt number 2. Woo! And just like that, it's on. All right, and we're back, and actually I have somebody here, the owner of the car.
What up, guys?
I didn't have anybody here to help me bleed the clutch, to do anything like that. I've kind of just been putting everything back together, trying to get everything situated. He's actually here hoping to pick it up. But I tried this sucker thing like I told you guys earlier, and I wasn't able to suck it all the way through and make it where there's no air in the system. Sometimes the manual bleed is the best way. So I'm actually having him inside the car, and he's gonna bleed the clutch with me, and then we're gonna let him drive it. So hopefully this goes real quick and we'll get out. And just like that, he's leaving with his car. I test drove it, we made sure things are good, but all in all, you guys have just seen the automatic to manual swap, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So like I said, I broke up this video into 2 parts, so if you guys are interested in how the transmission came out, what was necessary, check out the other video for the transmission part. And yeah, I appreciate you guys for sticking around. I appreciate you guys referencing the videos for the how-tos and everything. The love and the support from you guys is unreal. And so yeah, I will see you in the next video. Peace.